Hello there. This lecture on the West, we can make a lot of connections between what we're doing here and what we just did in the Reconstruction lecture, where it's roughly the same time. We're just moving to a different region. A lot of the racist policies that we see happening in the Reconstruction South, we're going to see happen in the West as well. So we'll look at Native Americans in the West, and we'll see what is unofficially the Indian Wars, but very much a war against indigenous peoples. We'll start in 1876 at Little Bighorn, where Native Americans win, but ultimately this is going to be a loss because it's going to shift our policy and will lead to the creation of boarding schools. And you'll see some images there, and you have some documents there in reference to boarding schools. My dog is saying hello. And then we'll end that conversation about Native peoples in 1890. And this is such a devastating blow that there won't be large-scale Native American resistance again until we get to the civil rights movements in History 8, at least. If you're in History 7, this is it, right? But in History 8, we won't see it again for nearly another 100 years. And then we're going to look at the connection of the railroad and the West, and that's also intimately tied with Native peoples. I put it as a separate thing, but it's also connected to Native peoples because it's going to lead to the destruction of the buffalo. We'll see it's going to affect everyone's life, though, in terms of time. It's going to create standardized time. We'll talk about the immigration of people from China. They're largely going to build the railroad. And then again, if you're in History 8, you'll see how that is going to be repaid in 1882. And then we'll see it affects, the railroad's going to also affect like landscape, right? Not just with the buffalo, but with the creation of farms. And that's also, we'll look at Frank Norris. Again, if you're in History 7, this is it. But if you're in History 8, you're going to see the progression of that as you move into the populist in a future lecture. And then the last thing we're going to do with the West is something that we did similarly with Reconstruction. We're going to see how the story of the West gets rewritten and gets retold. Just like we saw Reconstruction was rewritten with Birth of a Nation, the idea of the lost cause and Birth of a Nation. We're going to see the history of the West is going to get rewritten with Turner's thesis and with the live action Buffalo Bill show. All right. I hope you're doing well. Take care.